A common kitchen root has gone head-to-head with ibuprofen in 5 separate clinical trials, and the results were so close to identical that researchers could not tell the groups apart. You can grow it from a single piece you bought at the grocery store for $2. It thrives in a jar on a sunny windowsill. And for reasons that have nothing to do with science, almost nobody talks about it. For the next few minutes, you are going to see exactly what those 5 studies found, why this plant works on inflammation through pathways that pharmaceutical drugs cannot even touch, how to grow an endless supply on your kitchen counter, and why a regulatory system built around patents has quietly buried one of the most consistent natural pain remedies ever tested in modern medicine. The root in question is ginger, and what the data shows about it is genuinely difficult to explain away. Zingiber officinale has been used as medicine for more than 2,500 years. Ancient Ayurvedic texts called it the universal medicine. Chinese herbalists prescribed it for inflammation centuries before anyone had ever heard the word NSAID. Across Asia, India, and the Middle East, healers reached for it constantly, and they were not doing it because they were guessing. They were watching it work. Modern science has now identified the active compounds responsible, gingerols, shogols, and pyridols, with a molecule called 6-gingerol doing most of the heavy lifting. And once researchers started actually testing it in controlled human trials, the numbers became hard to ignore. The first study to consider was published in 2017 in the Dental Research Journal by Rayati and colleagues. It was a randomized, double-blind clinical trial conducted after dental surgery, which is one of the most painful, predictable, controlled environments researchers can study. Half the patients received ginger powder, the other half received ibuprofen. The results showed no statistically significant difference between the 2 groups across all follow-up days. A spice rack ingredient performed on par with the most prescribed painkiller on the planet. And that was just the first piece of evidence. Now here is where it starts to get harder to dismiss as coincidence, but stay with me because the strongest study is still coming. In 2009, a researcher named Ozgoli published a trial in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine involving 150 women suffering from severe menstrual cramps. The participants were split into 3 groups. 1 received ginger, 1 received mefenamic acid, a prescription non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. The 3rd received ibuprofen. Pain relief was statistically identical across all 3 groups. The kitchen root matched both pharmaceutical drugs. A 2015 meta-analysis published in Pain Medicine reviewed multiple trials on the same question and confirmed the effect. Millions of women each month reach for over-the-counter painkillers, never told that something already in their pantry has been shown to perform the same job. If you've ever known someone with knee arthritis, the next trial is going to sting a little. In 2001, Altman and Markuson published research in arthritis and rheumatism on 261 patients suffering from moderate to severe osteoarthritis pain. The standardized ginger extract significantly reduced pain when standing compared to placebo, and it did so with a safer gastrointestinal profile than typical non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. A 2014 meta-analysis by Bartels and Blidall pooled multiple trials and confirmed the efficacy across the board. Think about how many older adults are trapped in chronic pain cycles, taking handfuls of pills every day, who have never once been told that a powdered root might offer them comparable relief without tearing up their stomach lining. The 4th trial may be the most surprising of them all. Magbuli and colleagues published a study in phytotherapy research in 2014 involving 100 patients suffering from common migraine. They compared 250 milligrams of ginger powder against 50 milligrams of sumatriptan, the drug sold under the brand name Imitrex, which is one of the standard migraine medications worldwide. Both treatments cut headache severity by 44% within 2 hours. Same outcome. But the side effect profiles could not have been more different. Ginger caused only mild dyspepsia. Sumatriptan caused dizziness, vertigo, sedation, and heartburn. A 2020 study in cephalalgia later confirmed that ginger also works for migraine prevention, not just acute treatment. And then there's the question of exercise. If you work out, you've felt that deep, aching, delayed muscle soreness that arrives the day after a hard session. In 2010, researchers at the University of Georgia, led by Black and colleagues, published a study in the Journal of Pain showing that 2 grams of ginger daily reduced muscle pain from eccentric exercise by 25%. That's comparable to what non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, known as NSAIDs, deliver for delayed onset soreness. A 2015 systematic review in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research validated the effect, confirming the finding across multiple trials. Athletes spend hundreds of dollars a month on recovery supplements, while the cheapest option in the supermarket sits ignored. So why does it work? Because here's what most people don't understand about how ibuprofen does its job. Ibuprofen targets a single enzyme called COX-2. That's it. One pathway. One of ginger's active compounds, called 6-gingerol, also inhibits COX-2. But it doesn't stop there. It also blocks 5-LOX, an entirely separate inflammation pathway that ibuprofen doesn't touch. It suppresses pro-inflammatory cytokines, including interleukin-1 beta, interleukin-6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. It inhibits NF-kappa B activation, which is the master switch that turns on inflammation inside your cells. It reduces production of both prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Where ibuprofen pulls one lever, ginger pulls 5 at once. Multi-target action is what pharmaceutical companies spend billions trying to engineer. Ginger came preloaded with it. But here's the part that genuinely shifts the conversation. Ibuprofen and the rest of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug family are estimated to cause around 16,500 deaths every year in the United States alone. They also cause gastrointestinal bleeding, ulcers, and kidney damage, and about 100,000 hospitalizations from chronic use every year. Cardiovascular warnings were quietly added to labels years after these drugs became household staples. These mortality numbers approach the death toll from prescription opioids, and almost nobody knows it. Ginger does the opposite. It soothes the stomach, it reduces nausea, it supports digestion. The most common side effect at high doses is mild heartburn. There are essentially no reported deaths from ginger in the medical literature. Pregnant women routinely take it for morning sickness, and doctors actively recommend it. The contrast between the two safety profiles is genuinely difficult to overstate, which raises an obvious question. If the evidence has been piling up for 2 decades, why hasn't your doctor mentioned it? Why isn't it on the front page of every health magazine? And the answer isn't a conspiracy, it's something far more boring and far more powerful. Ginger is a food. Nobody owns it. There are no patents to file. There are no billion-dollar marketing budgets. Most of the clinical trials proving its effectiveness were funded overseas, in Iran, in Denmark, in Australia, and in India. No U.S. pharmaceutical company has any commercial reason to spend money proving that a grocery store item performs as well as its blockbuster drug. The FDA classifies ginger as GRAS, generally recognized as safe, but by law, it cannot make therapeutic claims for foods. Only drugs can claim to treat conditions. So even though the studies exist, even though the data is rigorous, no label can say so. The regulatory framework itself, not malice, guarantees the information stays buried. Medical schools teach pharmacology. They teach patented molecules. They don't teach gingerols. Now here's the part that turns this from interesting trivia into something practical. You can grow an essentially endless supply of this root on a windowsill, and almost nobody realizes how easy it is. Start with an organic ginger rhizome from any grocery store. This part matters. Non-organic ginger is often treated with sprout inhibitors and simply will not grow no matter what you do. Look for a piece with visible bumps. Those little nubs are dormant buds waiting to wake up. Soak the rhizome in room temperature water for about 24 hours to break that dormancy. Then choose a wide, shallow container with good drainage. Ginger grows out, not down, so depth does not matter much, but width does. Fill it with loose, rich potting soil. Place the rhizome bud side up and cover it with about 1 inch of soil. Ginger loves warmth, ideally between 70 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and it prefers dappled or filtered light rather than harsh, direct sun. Keep the soil consistently moist but never soggy because waterlogged roots will rot. The first sprout usually emerges in around 50 days, and patience is critical here because nothing visible happens above the soil for weeks. Baby ginger, which is tender, milder, and absolutely delicious, can be harvested in 4 to 6 months. A fully mature root is ready in 8 to 10 months. And here is the real magic. A single rhizome multiplies. One piece grows into several new rhizomes. You harvest some, replant some, and the cycle continues indefinitely. One $2 purchase becomes a lifetime supply. As for actual doses, the trials offer clear guidance. For general pain and inflammation, 250 milligrams to 1 gram, 2 to 4 times daily. For menstrual cramps, 750 to 2,000 milligrams per day, ideally starting 2 days before your period. For migraine relief, 250 milligrams at the first sign of an attack. For muscle pain and recovery, about 2 grams daily. You can take it as fresh root, dried powder, brewed tea, or capsules. Effects typically appear within 30 to 90 minutes, which is comparable to over-the-counter painkillers. A few important caveats. If you are on blood thinners like warfarin, talk to your doctor first, because ginger has mild antiplatelet activity. If you have gallstones, be cautious, because ginger stimulates bile production. It is not a replacement for emergency medicine or chronic disease management, and never stop prescribed medication without speaking to your physician. But step back and look at the picture as a whole. 5 clinical trials, 5 wins or statistical ties against the most popular painkiller on earth. A plant that costs $3 a pound, grows in a jar on your kitchen counter, has 2,500 years of traditional use behind it, and now has 2 decades of modern peer-reviewed research backing it up. The mechanisms are documented, the trials are published, the safety profile is enviable. The question was never why ginger works. The question is why nobody told you. And the answer has nothing to do with biology. It has everything to do with patent law, marketing budgets, and a regulatory system designed to evaluate drugs but not foods. If you have made it this far, try planting a single rhizome this week. Watch it sprout. Brew some into tea. See how your body responds. The knowledge has been waiting in plain sight for thousands of years. The rhizome is sitting in the produce aisle of every grocery store you have ever walked into. The only thing left is for you to reach for it.